Here's a strange mystery. A piece of paper in the United States can buy you a full meal, but that same piece of paper, a single dollar, barely buys a stick of gum in another country. In Japan, a cup of coffee might cost 400 yen. In India, it's 120 rupees. In the UK, it's £3. Yet these numbers don't reflect the same amount of money or power. So why do different currencies have different values? Who decides that one nation's paper is worth more than another's? And why do these values constantly rise and fall like tides, reshaping economies, lives, and entire nations? The truth behind currency value isn't just about math. It's about power, trust, and history. Let's go back to where it all began. Before dollars, euros, or yen existed, money was simple. Gold, silver, copper. The value was in the metal itself. If you had a gold coin, it was valuable everywhere. For centuries, this system worked because gold was rare, durable, and universally trusted. But as trade grew, carrying heavy coins became inconvenient. So governments began issuing paper notes, promises backed by gold stored in vaults. For example, in the early 1900s, the US dollar was pegged to gold. $1 equaled about 1/20th of an ounce. If you wanted, you could exchange your paper for real gold. The system was elegant. Every currency had a fixed value based on its nation's gold reserves. But the world was changing, and with it came the first cracks in this golden promise. World War I shattered economies. Nations printed money to fund war efforts, breaking their ties to gold. Prices soared. Inflation spread. After the war, countries tried to return to the gold standard, but it was like trying to glue a shattered vase back together. Too much money had been printed. Trust was fading. Then came Bretton Woods, 1944, a conference that would redefine global money forever. World leaders gathered to rebuild the financial world after World War II. They agreed on a new system. The US dollar would become the world's primary currency, and every other currency would be tied to it. The dollar itself would remain tied to gold. At first, it worked beautifully. The US economy was strong, its gold reserves unmatched. The dollar became as good as gold. But beneath the surface, the world's faith in paper money was once again being tested. By the 1960s, the US was printing dollars faster than it could back them with gold to fund wars, social programs, and growing global trade. Foreign governments started to notice. Countries like France began demanding gold in exchange for their dollars. The US couldn't keep up. In 1971, President Richard Nixon made a shocking announcement. The US was ending the dollar's convertibility into gold. Overnight, the world shifted from money backed by metal to money backed by trust, what we now call fiat currency. From that moment, currency values were no longer fixed. They began to float, rising and falling based on perception, politics, and global trade. And that's where the modern chaos began. Once currencies were unanchored, their value became a mirror of their nation's strength or weakness. Countries with strong economies, stable governments, and low inflation saw their currencies rise. Others, plagued by debt or instability, saw theirs fall. But who decides a currency's value today? It's not a single person or institution. It's a global tug-of-war between supply and demand, driven by trade, interest rates, debt, and investor confidence. If a country exports more than it imports, global demand for its currency rises. If investors trust its stability, they buy its bonds, strengthening its value. But if inflation spikes, political unrest grows, or debt piles up, confidence collapses, and the currency sinks. This invisible hand of trust defines the modern monetary world. Over the decades, nations have tried to control currency values through devaluation, currency pegs, and interventions. Some, like China, tie their currency to the US dollar to keep exports cheap and stable. Others, like Argentina or Venezuela, have faced hyperinflation when governments printed too much money, destroying public trust. The pattern repeats throughout history. When a nation tries to manipulate its currency too much, reality eventually breaks through. Even powerful economies aren't immune. In 2022, the British pound hit a historic low against the dollar after political turmoil. Japan's yen has weakened dramatically as it fights decades of economic stagnation. The global financial system is a balancing act, and every time one currency falls, another rises to take its place. Today, over 180 currencies circulate worldwide, but most are pegged, shadowed, or measured against one, the US dollar. Why? Because global trade, oil, and finance still run on dollars. In fact, nearly 60% of all foreign reserves held by countries are in US dollars. But new challenges are rising. The Chinese yuan, cryptocurrencies, and even central bank digital currencies are redefining what value means. The question is no longer just why currencies differ, but whether traditional currencies will even survive. So what can we learn from centuries of shifting currency values? 1. Money is a reflection of trust, not metal. Every dollar, pound, or yen holds value only because people believe in it, in their government, their economy, their system. 2. Currency value is power. When one currency dominates, it shapes trade, politics, and global influence, just as the dollar has for decades. 3. Nothing is permanent. Empires fall, systems change, and trust can vanish overnight. The currency you rely on today could be worthless tomorrow. The question, why do currencies have different values, is really a question about belief, about how much faith we have in paper, policies, and promises. Because when you strip away the symbols, money is just an agreement, a fragile story the world tells itself. The real mystery isn't why currencies differ, it's how long they'll keep working. If you found this story eye-opening, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden forces that shape our world, because understanding money isn't just about wealth, it's about power, history, and the fragile trust that binds it all together.